mindset is such a big aspect of it, and I think it's overlooked. Because it's like, oh yeah, I need these skills, but actually there's a load of soft skills and mindset things that you need to overcome that is going to keep your channel going and keep it sustainable and get you through the tough times, right?
Yeah, totally. And I think people, it's just such a weird thing to realize because, it's like, of course, I didn't think about mindset when I was starting a YouTube channel. I didn't even think that, why would you think that that's like a big deal? But if you think about all the great creators in history, like they've all struggled with this, regardless of whatever medium, architecture to painting to, whatever they're creating, writer's block is a thing that exists. It is something that regardless of your medium or creative endeavor, you are going to feel this like blockage, right? And it is just a matter of like, okay, there are things that you can do that are kind of tried and true. So thinking of it like, flipping your fear or thinking of, okay, if you're recognizing a limiting belief, how can you turn that into a liberating belief? Like that's really something that regardless of your journey can be a tool that you can apply to any story, right? I'll give you a quick example. So one of the things that I was struggling with when I was like, I think I still had like less than 2,000 subscribers. I was still so embarrassed about my channel. I was still so embarrassed, like in terms of the people that I knew, I was still embarrassed of like what I was doing. Everyone around me was like getting promoted, buying houses, getting married. And I was just like here with a camera. And I just felt really like dumb, to be honest. And my cousin was getting married. And I was like so terrified of like the questions that I knew I was going to get of like, okay, Heather, how are things going? What's this thing that I keep seeing on Facebook that you're doing? What is this YouTube thing? Like, how is this turning to money? I was just like, I didn't want to go because I didn't want to have to face that. And luckily I had an awesome mentor at the time. And it was the same thing of recognizing the limiting to the liberating and having this like mental tool that you can have in your toolkit, where he was like, instead of feeling really small and feeling like you have to defend yourself, go in big. I was like, what the heck do you mean? So he was like, get your biggest tripod, get your biggest camera, put on every single freaking accessory on that thing and make the biggest rig that you can and just show up and go. And I wanted to like not bring anything. I didn't want to bring a camera. I wanted to like hide in the corner and try to be invisible. He was like, no, show up and own it. Go. Like, I promise you, when you do that, everyone's going to look at you in awe instead of being really like, like as if it were an interrogation, like they're going to be like, wow, what's this thing that you're doing? Like, where does this go? And blah, blah. And lo and behold, literally the first place that I went to was like the church where we were doing the rehearsal. And I brought in my camera rig and I was just like vlogging like in the church, and everyone was like, whoa, what is this thing that you're doing? Like, oh, you make videos now, and like how many subscribers do you have? Wow, 2,000. That's so cool. And like it was like nothing I was afraid of happened. And of course it was like the total opposite of that. Everyone was just like, oh my God, this is so cool. Like, your little cousin wants to start a YouTube channel too now, or like we were thinking about starting a YouTube channel at work and blah, blah, blah. And like, it was just totally opposite. So long story long, like there are like books and tried and true ways that you can kind of realign your mindset, regardless of the channel that you're creating or the creative endeavor that you're working on, that can actually help you work through this, right? So it's always going to be, I think, natural for us to think like, because it's in our head, we think it's like worse, right? Like how there's something wrong with me. Like you're going to think it's going to feel so much worse than what you think other people are going through. But people have gone through this. It's not unique to you. And there's like so many resources out there if you just take the time to figure out how your, not how your mind works, but how you can kind of work through these things that everyone struggles with.
I love that story because that is so the thing that would go through my head, especially at my age. It's just like, oh, I can't be dealing with this.
Yeah.
No.
Totally.
Not that I need an excuse to not turn up to places. Anyway, my social awkwardness aside. But you're right. And I suppose one of the biggest things that I thought of was I don't want to regret it. And I think that's what gave me a kick, right? Because things had been in my mind for, like 4 or 5 years or something. And you watch people every year go out and do it. And every year you're like, oh, this is blah, blah, blah. And every year there's someone new and you're like, what am I doing? Like, if this is something I want, stop sitting here and like wishing for it.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, there's never going to be a perfect moment. Like, now we're in a global pandemic, so I could have told myself, like, oh yeah, 2020 is going to be the year that's going to like change everything, and now we're, it's like if it's not a global pandemic, it's something else. There's always going to be something that we're not, all the circumstances are ideal, but I don't think that's a reason to not create something that only you can create.